You can't hear me, students? Other students?
Ma'am, we can.
Audible, ma'am.
Okay. Shubham, you check your system or rejoin again otherwise. Okay, now okay, you wrote. It's okay. So I hope everyone has copied the question. So we'll go ahead now. What you have to do first, I will ask you to go with a stepwise in your notebook and you will solve it. Later on, I will ask one by one question based on the steps which we are going to do today. So that I'll come to know whether you understood and you can do it or not. Fine. So first step, all of you write down the candidate key present in the dependency diagram. We will solve in the same way, the way we have solved a previous example, and all the normalization sum you have to solve in this way only. Fine. So first, all of you write down the candidate key present in the dependency diagram. Okay. So now I will ask anyone to give the answer. I will call out today. So I will ask the person who is not giving answer. But still now the person has not given the answer. I will select such people. Mm, what happened? So many students left the meeting because I'm going to ask the question. Don't worry, that is for you people only. I'm not going to give marks for that. Okay, first, what is a candidate key? Those who know the answer, write in chat box. What is a candidate key for the given dependency diagram? Those who know the answer, write in chat box. Yeah. So candidate key is AB. Correct. Now, next step. Next step, all of you, you have to write your dependencies which are given over there. Functional dependency, right? Based on the dependency diagram. So all of you just write in chat box the dependency which are given over there. Then I will tell you which order, which one we will take F1, F2, F3 and whatever. Why I'm going to give everyone the same way, because then we will solve in a one order. Otherwise then I have to see many people different functional dependent. You have to handle which number and all that. So first, all of you, just those who know these functional dependencies there, mention in chat box. You can mention in any order, then I will ask you to write in notebook. Yeah, student, list down the functional dependencies which are given in dependency diagram. Write those in chat box first. Don't write in your notebook. No, I want the functional dependencies. Yeah, so Lekha wrote A determine C. A determine C is there. No, A determine C is there, Lekha. One minute. Let me check the diagram. Yeah, it is as per the diagram, it is A determine C, right? But that is actually A determine D. By mistake, that diagram I have. Student, make that A determine D in diagram, dependency diagram. Extend it till D. I'll just change it. Yeah, that is A determine D. AB determine C, D, E, F, G. Correct, Sonam. E determine G, correct. C determine B, correct. Correct. So there are total how many functional dependencies given in the diagram? I'll just extend that A determine. Total 4, correct. So now I will tell you the order, which one you have to. I'm just extending that one. Okay, all of you write down the F1. AB determines C, D, E, F, G. So give that functional dependency number as F1. The way we have written F1 colon AB determine all other factor which are given. Second F2, A determine D. F2, A determine D. F3, C determine D. F3, C determine B. F4, E determine G. F4, E determine G. Okay, now next to this, write down which one is which type of functional dependency. Whether it is a partial functional dependency, whether it is transitive functional dependency, and so on. So next to that, mention it. So everyone just write which type of functional dependencies are given. So next to that, you can write in bracket. So as per the diagram, here it is A determine D, which by mistakenly I have written here for C. So do this correction, A determine D. Okay, fine then. Who will tell me now A determine D is which type of functional dependency? A determine D. Which type of functional dependency? Yes, correct. So it is partial. Part of the key attribute is determining non-key attribute. So it is a partial functional dependency. Fine. AB determine C, D, E, F, G. AB determine this one. AB determine C, D, E, F, G. Which type of functional dependency? This one. AB determining all this. No. AB determine My next question, A determine D is done. My next question is AB determining C, D, E, F and G. So it is no transitive. How transitive? Non-trivial. Fully. That is correct answer. Complete key. Candidate key is determining something. So it is fully functional dependency. Basically, it is not required in this solution, but you should know that is known as a fully functional dependency. Okay, fine. Then that is not required to mention. Okay, it is enough. Then next is C determine B. C determine B. From here, we are getting this transitive. Anyone? Transitive, but here we are not getting the, here basically we are getting non-key attribute determining the part of key attribute. So next to this, you can mention non-key, arrow means determines key attribute, part of key attribute or key attribute. So next to this functional dependency, mention it non-key determines, determines means you will use arrow, okay? Part of key attribute or key attribute. Next, E determine G. When we are saying it is transitive, it should be yes. Non-key determine non-key. When it is non-key determine key, then it is not transitive. Remember, E is determined by a key attribute and then non-key attribute is determining next non-key attribute. So this is known as a transitive functional dependency. Fine. So this part is done, everyone. Now next to that, write down one NF. One NF. For that, mention R1, capital R1. Okay. R1 in bracket. We are getting AB is determining everything, right? So write down A, comma A, comma B, comma all this C, D, E, F, G. I'll just take word file. We'll go for one NF. So I'll just increase the font. So we are having here R1. R1 is our A and B. These are determining C, D, E, F, and G, right? So we received this. Out of this is my candidate. Okay. So there are no repeating groups shown in the diagram, dependency diagram, or they have not mentioned in the question, right? So you have to say this R1 is in 1 NF since it has no repeating groups. So mention that R1 is in one normal form, first normal form. Mention the since three dots, or if you right now I will write the word since it has no repeating groups. Okay. So here we have done with our 1 NF. Go for 2 NF. Okay. Who will tell me now in 2 NF what we check exactly? For 2 NF, what we check? Yes, that is partial functional dependency. If it exists in your dependency diagram, we have to remove that. Correct? So we check that. As per our diagram, we have one partial functional dependency, that is your F2. A determines D. Part of key attribute determine non-key attribute. Right? So write down 2NF, 2NF removes partial functional dependency 2NF removes partial functional dependency among attributes of relations present in 1NF. Present in 1NF. Next line. R1 is in 1NF. R1 is in 1NF, but not in 2NF. R1 is in 1NF, but not in 2NF. Because of partial functional dependency, because of partial functional dependency F2, because of partial functional dependency F2. That is, next line, that is A determine D. That is A determine D. Therefore, next line, therefore, divide R1 into R2 and R3. Divide R1 into R2 and R3. Next line. What will be your R2? What will be your R2? Can anyone write in chat box? R2 and R3. Let me know answer from you people. Meanwhile, I'm just drawing the dependency diagram side by side. Give me the answer for R2 and R3. AD. Correct. So R2 will be your A comma D. So we are having here R2 will be my A comma D, which is my partial functional dependency, where my part of key attribute is determining non-key. So now in this case, A is my key attribute. A is my key attribute, which is now fully key attribute for this dependency. Okay, this relation. So this is one. What is R3 then? B, C, E, F, G. B, C, E, F, G. Still it is not correct. R3 is not correct. A, B, C, E, F, G. That is correct. When we are removing one of the key attribute in another functional dependency, we are not removing the primary key, remember. So A, B, A, if we are taking primary key over here, we should not remove from our main relationship. So remember that part. So this is my R2 and R3, where here A comma A and B are my key attribute. Only when we are changing the key attribute, that part I will tell you that you can do. So right now here, this is my R2 and this is my R3. Fine. Now R2 is in 2NF, correct? As well as R3 is in 2NF. No partial functional dependencies present over there, right? Okay. So now this we cannot further divide, right? So this is my final functional dependency where I will put star for that so that for my understanding it is easy. Or I will highlight this with some color. Fine. So now after this R3 you have written in this answer, write down R2 and R3 are in 2NF. R2 and R3 are in 2NF. Now next is 3NF. So for 3NF, this we cannot further divide. This is a final dependency. So that we have marked star. Now we have to check for R3 now. Is R3 in 3NF? Is R3? No. Which functional dependency gives you that? It is not in the 3NF transitivity, right? So that is transitive functional dependency, correct? As per our diagram, which is that functional dependency? Non-key, determine non-key. So which is that? We are having, yes, F3. That is E determine G. F3 or F4 I said. E determine G as per that is F3. Oh, sorry, F4. So write down R3 is in 2NF right after this. R3 is in 2NF but not in 3NF. R3 is in 2NF but not in 3NF because of functional dependency. Because of functional dependency F4. Because of functional dependency F4. Okay, that is next line. That is E determine G, which is transitive functional dependency, which is transitive functional dependency. So based on this, what I will have R4 now? What I will have R4 here? Consider the functional dependency which we are showing, whether it is partial, transitive. That will come into your first functional dependency, or we are separating them so that it will not violate the condition. E comma G, correct. So my R4 will be E comma G, whereas E will be my primary key for this table. Okay. So it is my new table I will have in my design, database design. So E determine G. As per that, what will be now R5? Anyone? R5 is A, B, C, F. Okay. Anyone else would like to modify this answer or same answer? Same. A, B, C, F. What about E? What about G? G, okay, you have taken here in R4, so we are removing. If this is my primary key, then it has to present in my main relation, right? Because this is not, this we have created here. So it has to be foreign key in my main relation. When we are saying it is in, it always remember, when we are non-key attribute, we are making it key for in another relation, it has to present somewhere as a foreign key. Where my main candidate keys are A, B, which are determining now, or C, E, and F. G is gone because G we have taken over here. E is determining G. As per this is my candidate key or primary key for the table, but E is primary key over there, so it will be my foreign key over here. Okay, so this is R5. So now this we have done with, this is my star now. This I cannot further divide, so I will make it star. Final. I'm just copying in my dependency diagram. Okay, I have to draw the structure first. Okay, one line I forgot to take. Anyways, continue with that. So we got here R4 and R5 now. So now R4 is final because we cannot further divide it into uh, anywhere or any other dependency. So we are keeping it as it is. Now we are having R4 and R5. So R4 is my final. I'm making it red. Next, go for write down after this R4 and R5 are in 3NF. R4 and R5 are in 3NF because there is no further transitivity relay functional dependency present over there, right? So now here what we are supposed to do, make it okay. So now this is done. You write it properly. Okay. Next, write down BCNF. This part we have not done in our previous example. So we'll go for BCNF now. It is known as a Boyce code normal form. Okay, Boyce code normal form. Now here in BCNF, we have one functional dependency which is non-key attribute determine part of the key attribute, right? So write down R5, all of you write down after this BCNF. R5 is in 3NF but not in BCNF. R5 is in 3NF but not in BCNF because of functional dependency, because of functional dependency F3, F3, that is C determine B, where you can mention for that non-key determines key attribute. Okay, non-key determines key attribute. So for that write down, therefore divide R5 into R6 and R7. Divide R5 into R6 and R7. See here, while going step by step, if you are missing anything over in first step, your complete sum will get wrong. So practice for that, where to keep the primary key, you have to keep till the end. Always remember. When you are going to change it, for BCNF, your main candidate key may change. That we'll see right now. But otherwise, your candidate key remain as it is most of the time. Fine. After this, divide R5 into R6 and R7. So our R6 and R7 will be. R6 will be now in this case. C determine B, right? So C, C and B. Where C is determining B. So we'll make C as our primary key for this relation. Right? So now in this case, what concept I am using? Surrogate key concept, which I covered in theory part. On the spot, for particular relation, we are changing or we are creating a primary key that is known as a surrogate key, basically. Okay, so this is my surrogate key which I have created as per my requirement. Okay, now if C is considered as a primary key, C is determining something. So here in R7, I will have A, comma, B I will not have here now because it is now here non-key attribute. So it will have C, comma, what else left? B is gone over here. A and C is now key attribute which I am taking here, and E, F. Okay, so here correct A, C, E, F, whereas E is my uh, foreign key as it is I will keep, and A and C will act as my key attribute now. Okay, so in BCNF, remember you need to use a concept of surrogate key where you are creating that key on the spot to reduce the finalize your relations without any redundancy or to get a good database design, right? So here this is my final answer. Further, I don't have any functional dependency, which is a non-key determining the key attribute based on this. So here, again, these two are my final functional dependency. So I will mark them star so that it is easy for me to mention. So as per this, all of you write down now. Therefore, the final normalized relations are, therefore, the final normalized relations are, write down these relations which are your final. So we are going to divide R5 into 2, which we have done. I'm just representing them in dependency diagram. All of you write down first for a normalized relation, which is R2 A comma D, R4 E comma G, and I don't have. Okay, so this is also my final functional dependency as well as R7. So write down all these and then draw this dependency diagram, which I have done just now for you people. So you can see how to draw the dependency diagram. One I have shown, so every time you can do that. Also, this same dependency diagram you can represent in the form of, you know, tabular structure like boxes. You can directly just have one the way we are getting the question. We are having all the boxes over here. A, like this. You can have like this: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, just in box, not those arrows. Then divide it into two parts, where in one box, left side box, you are having A and separated with D. Similarly, other side, whatever we are getting the result. So that way. So this you can also represent with a box structure. just tabular format if you want. Otherwise, this is also okay. Next to this, if you want, further you can do one more thing. Here you can mention next to this 1NF. It is in 1NF. Next to this, you can mention somewhere as this is in 2NF. Again, this part I can say in 2NF. I'll just adjust it. Then this part, these are in 3NF. So I will say 3NF. You can write it properly. I'm just adjusting. As per my space availability now. Okay. And here you can mention BCNF. So till here we have got result for all, whether it is 1NF, 2NF, 3NF or BCNF. For all we have received the result. This is also in BCNF. Okay. This is my final diagram. Dependency diagram, you can say. Normal for normalization or of normalized relations. Okay. Any doubt in this question? Now it is clear. I hope you all can solve the question, 10 marks question easily. This is the one based on the this. You will get one question that is a sum part in one only one paper. Maybe I think last year's KT paper. Instead of this sum, they have asked the theory. Explain all normal forms uh, or explain 1NF, 2NF, and 3NF. So in this case, what you can do, just remember the concept, whatever we have done in this question. The concept, if is clear, you can write your answer by yourself. So you know, at least one dependency diagram you can keep in your mind. For example, this one. For a theory part, I am saying, okay, this dependency diagram you can keep in your mind so that you can show the solution completely, which we have done here. Solution, and based on that you can explain. Already when we are writing, we are also explaining when 1NF, when 2NF, why it is called one not in 2NF, why it is not in 3NF. All things we are writing, that you can just elaborate with the example. So here your theory as well as your sum answer is ready. Okay. So any doubt in this normalization part? Now you can do one thing. You can try this normalized part for your any case study you can take or any other diagrams you can take for practice, and you can solve those. Further, if you are having doubt, I'm there. Anytime you can ask me. So shall I move ahead? Let me know if so that I can start with the new chapter part. At least because we have to finish that topic before your exam. Okay. So I'll continue with the next chapter. So as per the syllabus, this is your next chapter. Chapter is, that is a module is 6, chapter number 6, transaction management and concurrency and recovery. Basically, uh, if you refer any standard book or any reference book, there you can see these are three different chapters. One is for transaction, second is for concurrency control system, third is recovery management or recovery control system, right? Three different chapters. Even we will cover, yes. how many sessions required to complete. Actually, if we say we require 5 hours to complete the chapter, so let's see how much we can cover, because here we are having in that case 1.5 hour session. So maybe before your exam, I will try to finish it. Okay. So here today I will just cover half of the part for this chapter, because it is not possible to cover the completely. So from this chapter, first study we will study what is transaction and what are the things related with that. So in first lecture we will start with the transaction management. Second part we will go for a concurrency control, that I will create in separate PPTs for three different modules or three different parts of the chapter. Third one, we will go for a recovery system or recovery management. Fine. So today we'll begin with the transaction part. Actually in this transaction part, these are the points which we are going to see. We'll see the what is transaction, then we will have we'll learn asset properties. You must be knowing already this, but in the term of database, we'll go through those. We'll see the state diagram. This question, usually the acid properties question is asked for 10 marks. Transaction state diagram question is asked for 5 marks. Then concurrent execution, and based on this, they asked view serializability and conflict serializability. Okay, that question for 10 marks. Fine. So we'll cover all those points, don't worry. What is a transaction? First definition of the transaction. So what transaction? You know that you must have handled the banking system and all that, right? In banking, how the transaction takes place. Same way, a transaction is nothing but a unit of program execution. What happened? We are withdrawing, we are depositing some money, deposit some money in a bank account or whatever. We are doing some program for that, some action, something we are performing over there. So a transaction is a unit of program execution that accesses and possibly updates various data items. So once the transaction takes place, once any transaction happens, something is changed, right? Somewhere the money is added, somewhere money is removed. I am just linking with the banking example, for that is always easy to understand. So some more values are changed somewhere, right? So that is various data items are updated. So remember this definition in database term, and you have to write the same definition. Don't write in your own word. Always remember, definitions are there. Those has to be scientific definition which are given. Don't write those in your own word. After these definition, you can explain this in your own word. That doesn't matter. Okay. A transaction is a unit of program execution that accesses and possibly updates various data items. Right. Now consider this transaction. The transaction is in terms of transferring $50 from account A to account B. Okay, so first I am reading the value of A. What is the value of A? From A, we have to remove the 50, because from A I am going to transfer. So remove the 50 from A. So value is changed. Write the A. If you are not writing, then this second step we have done, that will have no meaning. If the updated value is not written, then the transaction which you have performed will not execute. Okay, or that is not final execution. So you have to write the value of A. So now my value of A, suppose A value we are having 100. Initially we are taking some value right now. So take A value as 200 and B value as 200. Okay, initially we are taking this value throughout the chapter. Consider A value 200, A is having 200, B is having 200. Now here A value is 200, A is A minus 50. So 200 minus 50, it will be 150. Write A means now here the value of A is 150. Remember. Then I am reading the value of B, which is 200, right? B is now B plus 50, which will be 250, but 8 it is not written. After writing, it is 250. Correct? So now my A value is now after the transaction, this transaction execution. The value of A is what? 150. Value of B is what? 250. Sum of the values before executing the transaction is what? 200 plus 200, that is 400. Correct? Sum of the values of A and B after execution of this transaction, what are the values? 150 plus 250. What is the total? 400, right? So before executing the transaction, the sum is 400. After executing the transaction, sum is 400. So my transaction executed properly and it is a consistent transaction. Nowhere I am getting mismatch before and after values. That is the sum of the values, right? So this is my consistency. This consistency is maintained over there and it is my consistent transaction. That we'll see further in detail. But right now, this concept is clear. Whatever operation is performed in the transaction, if the value is not written, then that will not take place. Remember this. Further in serializability, we require this concept. So, but with this, we are facing two problems. One is failure of various kinds, such as because transaction, when we are saying execution of the transaction, right? Computer system is there, right? Computer system is one nothing but electronic gadget. It may face various problems. So for that, you have to find out the solution because we cannot remove transaction part completely from this operation. We have to perform the transaction. So these are the problems such as hardware failure, system crashes, any problem you may face in between. Concurrent execution of multiple transactions. Right now, this is going on. But after some time, some another customer is coming that want to deal with the some similar type of transaction or want to use the A or B account. It is not bank account, but right now consider same account the person wants to use. So in that case, if both the transaction, that is multiple transaction, wants to get executed simultaneously, that is known as a concurrent transaction. That is not possible with this simple way, right? So for that, we have to find out some solution. But right now, the transaction part is clear. What is transaction and how the transaction takes place. These are usually the commands which we use in a transaction. Read and write. Okay, fine. After this, acid properties. This is a definition of transaction which we just now saw. A transaction is a unit of program execution that accesses and possibly update various data items. So to make it more stronger, we are using this ACID properties, right? To preserve the integrity of the data, the database system must ensure this ACID properties. What is ACID properties? A stand for anyone? Anyone can give the answer. Don't write in chat box because right now I cannot see your chat box. If you know the answer, you speak out. A stand for in this acid. We have done this A part somewhere in a previous chapter, right?
Atomicity.
Yes. C stand for, I use this term just now while explaining the transaction.
Consistency.
Correct. I stand for isolation. D stand for, somewhere in other programming language you have used this term. D stand for durability. So we'll go one by one. What is atomic? Okay. What is atomicity? You know this term we have done.
It will either happen or not happen.
Yes, a transaction can get executed completely or not at all, right? So in between, if it is not complete, then whatever our previous values are there, those will get restored. If it is happening, the new values will get restored. So it is not that one from one we are removing and not depositing in another. So consistency is not creating problem over there. You should get consistent data, so that transaction should happen completely or not at all. So it is either all operations of the transactions are properly reflected in the database or none, right? So that is known as an atomicity. Second one, consistency. Just now I showed you the consistency concept. Before transaction, whatever values were there, same has to be after the transaction. So consistent data has to be there. So execution of transaction in isolation preserves the consistency of the database. If it is done, then that is really good for your transaction and it is satisfying the conditions. Third one, isolation. Isolation is like, see, although multiple transactions may execute concurrently. Now here it is possible, number of transactions are executing simultaneously. Each transaction must be unaware of other concurrently executing transaction. I am executing one transaction and you all are executing one transaction. I should not bother what is happening at your side. I will see or I will think about my transaction, how I am satisfying the atomicity, consistency, and my transaction execution, right? So, isolation. Your transaction is isolated at some place. Remember, you are in isolation. Don't know what is happening around. You know your thing only. So, that is transaction should get executed properly. Intermediate transaction results must be hidden from other concurrently executing transactions. If any result is happening in between, it should not be shown to other transaction that time. Once it is completed, because we don't know whether that transaction will get executed completely or not till the end. Once it is final, then you can share the result, right? So that is isolation. For every pair of transaction Ti and Tj, it appears to Ti that either Tj finished execution before Ti started or Tj started execution after Ti finished. So whether Ti and Tj, Ti is one transaction, Tj is another transaction, both are started simultaneously, but Ti will come to know that Tj started after finishing Ti, or Ti will come to know Tj finished it just now, so Ti is starting. Same way for Tj, whether those have started simultaneously, but they will not come to know that. They should know that the other transaction will start after me, or just now that transaction has finished. In between, you should not notify that transaction. So the isolation has to be satisfied by every transaction. They should not think about the other transaction. Durability. After a transaction completes successfully, once the transaction executed completely or successfully, the changes it has made to the database persist even if there are system failure. You know this concept, right? Maybe you have studied in programming or the programming languages. Durability. Once the transaction is successfully executed, you have to make it commit that my transaction is completed, so it is done. Whether after that any crashes occur, after that hardware problem occur, my output is stored, so anytime you can recover that till that point. If in between something happen, then we know that it is not complete and it is lost. But once it is done, it is my final, it should remain. That is durability. So if any transaction is satisfying all these properties, acid properties, then definitely your transaction is successful or it is following all the rules of transaction. Question for acid property is asked. First, go ahead with the definition of transaction properly. For transaction to maintain the integrity, it needs to satisfy the acid property. These are the acid property. Mention those. Plus, with this, you can give one example to explain all this, right? So that I have just added example of fund transfer. Same example we will take. Initially, A value is 200, B value is 200. Same transaction which I have explained just now in previous transaction slide. So that only I have taken. And same we will continue for the atomicity. If the transaction fails after step 3, step 3 you can see here, after step 3 and before step 6 means here you have read the value of A, you have performed the operation and you have finalized the value of A, that is written the value of A, you have read the value of B, you have transferred the amount to B, but you fail here. After executing the step 5, you failed, or maybe reading the value of B, you failed. So what will happen? A value will be what? What will be the value of A as per this condition? Suppose you failed here at step number 5 and my transaction now over because there is a failure in between. So now based on this, value of A is 200 and B is 200. After this execution till step 5, value of A will be what? I want answer from you people. A value will be
Ma'am, 150.
150, correct. B value will be
Ma'am, 200.
200, right. Here it is saying B plus 50, correct. So we have added 200 plus 50, but we have not written the value of B. Remember, we have not written final value of B. We received a failure here in between after the step 5 immediately. So our value of B is not written. So it will take the value of B, which was previous value, whatever the B value was there, right? So my transaction, initial execution of the transaction, A plus B is 200 plus 200, that is 400. After executing this transaction, the value of A plus will be 150 plus B value is 200. So here it is 350. So what happened? If my transaction is not executed completely, the consistency is not there. Before executing the transaction, sum is 400, but after executing the transaction, it is 350. There is a difference of 50 rupees in between, right? So that is lost in between because my transaction is not complete. So if you want to solve this problem, you have to go for a atomicity requirement or atomicity property. Transaction should get executed completely or not at all. If there is a failure here, what you can do? You can roll back this transaction completely till here. So whatever value I was having previously will remain the same. I will not have any of this to be executed. No transaction. You have to abort your transaction completely, destroy your transaction, right? So that is atomicity you have to check. The system should ensure that updates of a partial executed transaction are not reflected in the database. Completely execution or not at all. If here is somewhere problem, roll back to all the steps that I don't want this to happen, and you will get your result. That is atomicity requirement you have to check. So always explain your answer in terms of one of the transaction example. So this is one of the best example to explain. Second, durability requirement. As I told you, once you executed the transaction completely and then something happened, see to it that your result is available for further transactions also. Once the user has been notified that the transaction has completed till my step 6, that is in this case transfer of 50 rupees taken place. Okay, the updates to the database by the transaction must persist even if there are any failure. As I told you, anything happen after that, but the update has to be present. Okay, so durability requirement needs to be satisfied. The value of A and B will be 150 and 250 after that, and has to be updated in a database permanently. Okay, so that is durability. Same you can explain with the example. Third one, consistency. Consistency, just now I have explained for explaining the atomicity. Value of A plus B, sum of A plus B is unchanged by the execution of the transaction. Before transaction execution, it was 200 plus 200, 400. After executing the transaction, it was 150 plus 250, that is 400. Means my transaction is consistent, or it is satisfying the consistency. So same thing is given. A transaction must see a consistent database. During transaction execution, the database must be temporarily inconsistent. When the transaction completes successfully, database must be consistent. If it is not consistent, if it is 150 here and here it is 200, then it is not consistent. So after execution of the transaction, you have to check the values are consistent or not. Okay. Last one, isolation. As I told you, TI and TJ. TI is right now T1 and TJ is T2. Two different transactions are there here, right? If between step 3 and 6, you can see 3 and 6 here in between. Another transaction T2 is allowed to access the partially updated database. So now here what will happen? My transaction is complete, will get complete after the step 6. Here the bracket is there, by mistake it is removed. After 6th step, my transaction will get complete. That is T1 transaction. But what happened in between? After the step 3, some another transaction started. So here after the step 3, my transaction is not complete. It is partially completed or updated. So if it is the case, if the access the partially updated data, T2 is accessing the partially updated data by T1, right? So if T2 is getting the data, then it will get inconsistent data and it is printing the value of A plus B. See here, read A, read B and print A plus B. So what will happen here in this case? What value T2 will read for A? Yes, student, for T2, we are here now. We have executed this till here. Now we are T2 started in between. So what T2 will read now? A value 200, correct? For this, read A. T2 will read A value as 200. Yes or no? I hope I am audible. In this case, remember, forget about this part right now. 4, 5, 6 step, because after third step, we are having this second transaction taken place, T2. So now the value, what value T2 will read for A? Will read what, which value of A? Or what value you can say? Can anyone give the answer? It will read 200 or 150. Nobody? Am I audible, right? Yes. When I'm playing the slideshow, I cannot see your comments. So that is the reason I want answer that orally you can give the answer. So as per this, my question is, when we are finishing with 3 steps, what value T2 will read for A? See, from here now T2 is taking the data. So what value T2 will read for A? It will read 200 or it will read 150? For A, I am asking. Yeah, Sonam is saying 150. Who all support for 150? Shubham is saying 150. Anyone for 200?
200.
200.
200, miss.
This is Lekha
Manjiri.
Manjiri. Anyone else for 200? Okay. So now we will go ahead. T1 started with the transaction. T1 is reading the value of A. So here T1 will have the value as 200. Right now I am roughly writing for you people. Then T1 is performing transaction as A is removed with 50. So here T1 will have 150 value, but which is not written in a database, right? Then here T1 is writing the value of A, so it is now 150 as per our calculation. From here, T2 is reading the value of A. So what will be the value of A here? 150, because T1 has returned the value of A. Correct? So value is updated in a database partially. And in between, T2 is started. So the value of T2 will be 150 for A. What value of B T1 will T2 will read? It is 200 it will read, or it will read 250? 200, because here initial value of A and B we have taken as a 200 and 200. No operation is performed by T1 on B till here, step 3, right? So B value here by T2 will be 200, correct? And A plus B, it is printing, it is writing the value of A plus B somewhere else, so it will be 350. So now what problem T2 is facing? Initial values were 200 plus 200, so that is 400, and right now it is getting 350 because he started in between before completing the transaction, right? So let one transaction get executed completely. T1 should not share the data with T2 till it gets execution properly. Once it is completed, then only it should allow to share the data to other transaction. Okay, so that is the problem. Your one transaction should work in isolation. Okay, so that has to happen. Fine, till here clear everyone? We are having isolation can be ensured trivially by running transactions serially. One transaction executed completely, then second start, second complete, then third start. That is known as a serial execution of the transaction. So if transactions are executing serially, so we will not face problem like this. In between, no transaction will enter. That is one after the other, known as a serial transaction. Executing multiple transactions concurrently has significant benefit, right? Because if we are saying one transaction execution, then once that is completed, second start, second completed, third start, and so on up to end transaction. We are having thousands of transactions taking place in a database, right? So if we are following this serial execution, then it will take lots of time and we won't be able to achieve our result quickly. So for that, we have to go for concurrent transaction, but for that we have to study the concurrency control system. So that we will see in later topic, but right now for transaction we can go for that. Fine. So for successful transaction, it should follow the properties of ACID properties, which are atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. Okay. Any doubt till here? I'm going slow because this is slightly different for you people. And if you are not understanding this part, then further you will also not understand what is concurrency control system, what are the recovery part and all that. Because this is base. You should know you should understand what is transaction, what is isolation, what is consistency, atomicity, durability, everything required further. Okay. Then we are having the transaction state. I'll just cover this transaction state and then I'll stop. There are 5 transaction state. You can see this diagram. Active. Initially, your transaction is active. After this active transaction can go in 2 steps. One is a partially committed and second is failed. If there is any problem, transaction is in failed state. But still it is in failed state. It is not aborted, right? It is not removed. So from fail, you can abort your transaction. From partially committed, you can execute it completely and you can go for a committed state, that my final successful transaction. Or from partial committed, you may face some problem, error, and you will return to the failed state. And from failed, you have to abort your transaction. So these are the 5 steps which are given. Active, initial state of your transaction. The transaction says it in this state while it is executing. I am running. The steps of the transactions are executing. So I am in an active state. When I am in partially committed, after the final statement has been executed. I have executed till here. Step 6. So I am in partially committed. Immediately after this, once to commit writing the value of B or committing the value of B, I am not receiving any failure. So I can say I am entering in fully committed state. If immediately after this I have not written the value of B, but I am getting some problem, I am not committed this value and I am facing the problem, I will return to the failed state, right? So partially committed. Failed after the discovery of any problem, any normal execution cannot proceed further. So I am in a failed state. Any error, any problem. Aborted. After the transaction has been rolled back and the database restored to its previous state prior to the start of the transaction. Okay, so that is known as a aborted state. Means aborted means if I am facing any problem in any of the state, I will roll back to every state and I will go back to the start of this transaction, whatever values were there previously. So that is known as a aborted. I'm aborting all the transactions, so roll back or everything. Commit means finally writing the value. So remember the commands commit and roll back. So in aborted, there are two ways. One is completely restart your transaction, right? Or kill your transaction completely. I don't want to restart. I just want to close it. So that is, there are 2 ways you can do abort it in a step. And finally committed, executed successfully. Okay. So these are the 5 states of a transaction, or you can say this is the state diagram of transaction. So in exam, you may get this question, explain the state diagram of a transaction or explain all the states of a transaction. So you should know this diagram properly, explain this properly. If you want, support every step. If it is 10 marks question with proper example. For example, I always take this example and just explain based on this. Just now, as I said, partially aborted, you have to go to the start of this, then partially executing somewhere here till here, and just failure somewhere for failed, you are facing problem over here, and then you are in a failed state, right? That you can explain with the example for 10 marks. Fine. After this implementation, how you can work with the atomicity, you can implement that. That part we will cover in next lecture. Okay. So in next lecture, we will finish the transaction part. Plus, if possible, I will start with the concurrency. Okay. Any doubt till here? Anybody is having? Ask if you have any doubt. If no, then I'll take your attendance.